Hey guys, today we're going to look at the rise of JAMstack. You probably heard of things like the MERN stack or the LAMP stack, and these are pretty much the traditional models of technology stacks where it covers end to end. So from the front end all the way to the back end server, where everything is encapsulated in the tech stack itself. So for example, in the MERN stack, we've got Mongo, we've got Express, React, and Node.js. React acts as the front-end UI layer. The backend is powered by Node.js, which is a JavaScript runtime, and Express.js is the server which handles all the API requests. Mongo is of course used as the NoSQL database here. But JAMstack is a little different and it's relatively newer. It's really great for a number of reasons and use cases which we will be looking at in this video. I'll also cover how you can actually host these apps on JAMstack for free in this video. So let's jump right in. The term stack actually refers to a group of technologies which is being used to build an app. So most recently JAMstack has become increasingly trendy and popular, and before you wonder what the Jam in the JAMstack actually stands for, it is important to recognize that JAMstack is not a collection of technologies. Rather, it refers to a way of building apps which focuses on things like delivering better performance, scalability, and relatively easy development for specific use cases. So now back to the JAM, which actually stands for JavaScript, APIs, and Markup. The term JAMstack was actually coined by Matthias Biilmann, the CEO of Netlify, who also refers to it as a modern web development architecture based on client-side JavaScript, reusable APIs, and pre-built markup. Before we dive into the JAMstack and benefits, let's actually understand traditional applications. A traditional app has three main components: the front-end app, the back-end server, and the database. The problem with this approach is complexity. As your app evolves, there's just too many things to take care of. So applications slow down with complex logic, and scaling for thousands of users or even more actually becomes just too hard. So how are we actually going to scale the system? Do we need load balancers? Do we need to do vertical and horizontal scaling? All these are the questions that arise as our app becomes bigger and bigger in terms of the features or the number of users, right? So other factors like security might be another area for concern as our apps grow in size. JAMstack has a great way to solve for these issues. JAMstack is an architecture which was designed to make apps faster, more secure, and easy to scale. Features that are dynamic are managed by JavaScript, so this can be achieved with any JavaScript library which does the job. So here there are no restrictions, and in APIs, the server-side methods actually become the APIs which is handled by JavaScript functions. So these can be reusable functions which are served over HTTPS with JavaScript. Again, this can be powered by third-party services or even your own custom functions. For example, you can actually use something like FaunaDB or even something as simple as Google Sheets or Airtable as your database and use the APIs to access the data. Or for cloud-based functions, you can actually use AWS Lambda functions or even Netlify functions. So similarly, if you need a comment section for your blog, you can check out services like Discourse. Or if you need a feedback form, you can use something like FormSpree, where you can collect the input from your users. The entire application is actually being served as a static site, so a collection of HTML files. And a popular way to do this is to actually use something called Markdown. So Markdown is actually a markup language, so eventually a static site generator, something like Hugo, or you can use something like JKL or even Gatsby, which can render the static files. So this is what markup refers to. So how does all this come together? JAMstack applications are served over something called a CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network. So here, before we actually deploy it to a CDN, JAMstack apps are compiled and pre-built into highly optimized static pages along with their static assets like images or videos. The apps are still being able to communicate over the backend services or the servers via JavaScript and the APIs that you have written. So why use something like JAMstack at all? Number one, you actually get speed. The loading speed of pages actually impacts the user experience and even conversion rates. By pre-generating the pages during the build process itself, JAMstack actually helps us to remove the need to generate any pages on the fly when a user requests them. With the pre-built and highly optimized sites, it is actually going to render your sites much faster. The pages are also stored on a CDN, which is sitting close to the user, and this is going to be served immediately. Number two, we get security. By removing the various complexities in the application level and the infrastructure level, JAMstack naturally results in fewer points of attack. For example, without a server or the database, naturally there's going to be fewer areas of vulnerabilities. Number three, you get scalability. We can easily scale our sites without any complex logic. Since our server is actually sitting through a CDN, we offload our responsibility for scaling to the CDN without incurring any complexity or responsibility for managing things like load balancing and etc. We are able to reach a global audience with almost zero effort, and this helps to keep your site up and running even during heavy amounts of traffic. Number four, simplicity. Overall, it all comes down to simplicity. With the simplicity of JAMstack, developers can now focus on the core of the application without worrying too much about things like DevOps or deployments or even scalability. So think of a traditional way of spawning instances on Amazon Web Services or even Google Cloud. As you get deeper and deeper into this provider's solution, we get locked into the system. With JAMstack, you are literally not stuck to any infrastructure provider or cloud hosting solution. You can host your site on any static site hosting solutions. And of course, this gives us happy developers, which gives us better products, and of course, happy users. Alright guys, in this section we're going to take a look at some of the most popular and useful tools to build your next JAMstack site. First up, let's look at some static blog and website generators. Here we have Hugo, and Hugo is a blazing fast static site generator which is built on Go. So the next one we're going to look at is JCal, and JCal is actually a markdown based static site generator which is built on top of Ruby. Third, we have Hexo. Hexo is also a very powerful blogging framework and is powered by Node.js. Next, let's take a look at Frontend Frameworks. So here I've got Gatsby. So Gatsby is really fast, and I've actually used to create a lot of static sites like my blog or even my personal website with it. So this is a great modern static site generator, and now they have actually upgraded it to actually support things like e-commerce sites, landing pages, blogs, and more. So be sure to check it out. Next one is next.js. Next.js is super powerful. So it's actually based on React, and it's actually optimized for server-side rendering. So next up we've got Next.js. So it's a bit similar to Next.js, just that the difference is that it is based on Vue.js instead of React. You can find out more on staticgen.com, and of course I'll leave all the links below as well. Next, let's take a look at deployment solutions for JAMstack apps. So the first one that I recommend is Netlify. So Netlify really supports JAMstack, and it's like an all-in-one platform for automating your web projects. Next, let's take a look at Vercel. So Vercel is actually a great platform to host, especially if you're building apps based on Next.js or even any of these Create React App, Next.js, Vue.js. It supports a lot of frameworks, and you can see that it's already really optimized for JAMstack frameworks. So be sure to check this out. And one of the most simplest but effective solutions is that you can use GitHub Pages, which actually helps to deploy your websites directly from your GitHub repository. Now let's take a look at Headless CMS. So Headless CMS is actually a content management system. So you can actually use something called Netlify CMS, and of course it's from Netlify, and it works really well with their platform. So this is a great choice, and Contentful is another popular choice. and Ghost is another headless CMS which is based on Node.js, and it's a great blogging platform. It really is powerful, and so all of them come with the different tiers, so be sure to check out which tier actually fits your use case. Most often I actually find the free tier is more than sufficient for most cases. We can even build e-commerce sites based on Jamstack. So these e-commerce capabilities are actually provided by third-party solutions. So one of them is Snipcart. So Snipcart is really powerful, and it can actually actually enables you to add a shopping cart to any website that you want. So that's one. BigCommerce is actually another powerful e-commerce solution that you can use. So again, it's a bit similar to Snipcart, but it's also different in own ways. It has different features, so you can always check out the documentation that BigCommerce has. Commerce Layer is another platform which you can actually use as a headless commerce platform, and you can actually integrate with your Jamstack site and immediately start providing e-commerce facilities. Again, I'll leave all the links of the technologies mentioned in this video in the description, so be sure to check that out as well. Next, let's look at some of the sites I've built on top of Jamstack. So I have got right from basics.com here. So this is one of my projects which actually has a lot of technical content on things on how to prepare for interviews, where I actually walk through coding questions. There's articles based on different categories, like for example how to host a website, or if you want to learn Golang or Python, there are different tutorials and uh, uh, walkthroughs for that. I have a blog page where I can actually talk about the rise of Jamstack here, and other different content. So all of this is running on something called Docusaurus. So Docusaurus is a powerful platform whether you want to generate sites like this or just purely for documentation purposes. You can check out Docusaurus. And my own personal website, this is running on Gatsby. So Gatsby again is a static site builder that we saw, and really serves the purpose well, and I'm hosting it on Netlify. Supercharge.dev is a website which is built with next.js, and it also has e-commerce kind of facility. I mean, it's just a minor one, but basically it allows people to buy my this basically allows people to buy the SaaS package that I've prepared. So it's a great out of the box solution if you want all the technologies here, which is Next.js, Balma, Docker, ESLint Prettier, React context based programming, Google Analytics, Firebase authentication, Cloud Firestore, FormsFree. It really combines all of these technologies into one, and be sure to check that out. So I hope you guys learned something new about Jamstack, its use cases, and how powerful it could be, and how you can actually leverage the power for your next application. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe below for more upcoming content. Catch you guys in the next video.